afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Olivia Mohan. I'm Head of Learning and Development in BDO Ireland. This is the third in our series of webinars where we're exploring the career and professional qualification options within BDO. Today, we're going to focus on audit with the aim of helping you understand the options available to you in this area of the business. So I'm delighted to be joined by Simon Carberry, Audit Partner in BDO, and Robert Crosby, Relationship Manager for Institute of Chartered Accountants Ireland. So thank you for joining me here today, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
So the areas that we're going to explore today is we're going to have a look at what a career in audit looks like in practice, Institute of Chartered Accountant Ireland training and qualification route, the skills and competencies that employers are looking for in this area, and then how graduates can get started. So we'll kick off. Simon, we might come to you first of all. For people who are new to this area, can you tell us a little bit about audit? What services do you provide?
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. Well, look, I might start by introducing myself and give you a bit of my own background, and then we'll jump into kind of what's involved in an audit. So, look, I'm an audit partner here in our Dublin office. I'm with BDO for almost 20 years now. I joined back in 2007 after studying accounting and HR in NCI, and obviously went the accounting route. I completed my ACA qualification through BDO, stayed with the firm after qualifying, and was fortunate enough to make partner in 2022. I suppose during that time I've worked across a huge variety of different clients, but now I specialise mainly in two sectors, being not-for-profit and retail. Not-for-profit includes a few kind of subcategories within it. It's got professional membership bodies, charities, education, and sport. So there's a nice mix even within that sector. And then retail is, well, I suppose everything you can imagine, from your local hardware store, your local optician, and some of the, I suppose, leading global fashion brands. So obviously two very different sectors, but two that I'm quite interested in and keen to be involved in. When I think back about what exactly an audit is, and in particular for this audience, I remember being in college and going through the milk round process and applying to a number of firms to consider an audit position, and I realised pretty quickly that I actually didn't know what I was getting myself in for, what I was actually applying for, and I had to do a bit of research. So I suppose if we break it down to the very simplest terms, I suppose understanding of what an audit is, it really is a review of a company's financial statements and their records, and what we're doing is verifying and the accuracy and the, I suppose, compliance with standards, be that accounting standards and company law. So look, that's a bit about me and what an audit is, but I suppose we can expand on that as much as you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that gives a good sense of what an audit is, because it's something we hear about, but maybe a lot of us are not sure what that looks like. So maybe you might tell us what a typical day in audit looks like in practice.
A typical day, I'm not sure there's such thing as a typical day because it's always changing, but look, naturally there's various ways in which we perform our audits and we test and review financial information to, as I say, determine its accuracy, and I think that'll really depend on the client, the sector, and probably the complexity of the organization. So I suppose, for example, let's say we're auditing a bank section. If a client has €100,000 in their bank account, how do we go about verifying the accuracy of that? So look, we would typically, as an example, obtain a copy of their bank statement and confirm the balance. We'd write to the bank, ask them to confirm the balance and confirm whether there's any other balances that the client has with that bank, like a bank loan or anything like that. For my retail clients, typical kind of area would be around stock. So we would attend a year-end stock count with the client, and we'd confirm the level of stocks that they'd have and consider the value of that stock at the year end. So look, as I say, a typical day can vary quite significantly depending, I suppose, also on the level of experience. So I suppose early in your career, you might be testing transactions or confirming those bank balances, attending stock counts and meeting clients' finance teams. But as you progress, you become more involved in other areas. You'd be kind of planning the audits, understanding the business risks and the audit risks, start reviewing the work of more junior members of the team, and probably start then advising clients as well as other things. So look, no 2 days, there's no typical day. As I said, there's no 2 days are the exact same, which I suppose is one of the reasons why people enjoy audit. In the end of the day, my role is to sign off on an audit report, which that's included within my client's financial statements. And my aim is to reach a conclusion that the financial statements show a true and fair view. So that's kind of what the main purpose is, that the financial statements show a true and fair view and are in line with the applicable accounting standards and the legal requirements. So look, as I say, it can vary significantly on many different variables, but hopefully that gives a bit of a picture of what's involved in the day-to-day.
Yeah, I think it does, Simon. And I think what I'm getting from that is there's quite a lot of interaction with the client from a very early stage in your career, which is great that you have that exposure to those different clients. You mentioned there that you did your degree in NCI in accounting and HR. So following on from that, what qualifications did you need for the career in audit then?
Yeah, look, I suppose a business or accounting degree or something along the likes of that is quite helpful. But we do recruit from a range of different academic backgrounds. We've seen all sorts of people coming through with various different degrees and that. I suppose what we're really looking for is more the skills that people might have. So typical things are like strong analytical skills, an interest in business, good communication skills, and probably most importantly, a willingness to learn. As I mentioned, and you said there as well, obviously I went the ACA route. The accounting degree gave really good exemptions. So that was the ACA was a clear route for me. But I suppose above all else, I like structure. The ACA route, training contract, you're working during the day, attending lectures throughout the year, and then you take study leave, and you have 1 week of exams in any given year. And then at the end of 3.5-year training contract, you're a qualified accountant. So I just liked the structure of working throughout the year, stop working for a few months, study, put the head down, sit the exams, get through the exams, and then back to work. So that's what worked for me. And I like that some people like me choose to build their careers thereafter in practice. Others move out of the industry into various roles, financial services, consulting, risk management, a range of commercial and leadership roles. I suppose that's one of the strengths of the ACA qualifications. It opens up a ton of windows and doors.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Simon. Really good overview there. And to say to our attendees today, if you have any questions throughout this webinar for Simon or Robert, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A, and hopefully we'll get time to address them at the end. So Simon, Robert, we might come to you now. Simon mentioned there he took the ACA route, and obviously you're the expert. So can you talk us through this qualification, please?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So I suppose to give a bit of background, Chartered Accountants Ireland is the professional body for Chartered Accountants. We award the ACA and CPA designations, and we're actually the largest body in Ireland for accountants. We've over 40,000 members and around 8,500 students. So we're very much focused on being a membership body. So when you hear of a chartered accountant we call a member, it means they're a member of Chartered Accountants Ireland. The qualification itself, in simple terms, I suppose what it's doing, it's combining professional education, examinations with practical experience. So like Simon said, you're doing both at the same time, but really what you're doing, the students are I suppose studying the technical elements of accountancy and business skills as well, which is kind of a wider business skill piece in it as well. And they do their exams, but at the same time, they're also developing those skills in the workplace through that relevant practical experience. And that combination is really important because it means that when you qualify, you don't just have academic knowledge. It's not just from reading, from studying. You have that hands-on knowledge. You've had the opportunity to apply what you've learned in a real business environment. And you're developing those professional skills that you need to work as a chartered accountant.
And what makes chartered different from other professional qualifications? And I suppose why would students consider it as a route into their career?
Yeah, so I suppose what the key difference, I suppose, really is around the education piece, and what makes it different is that Chartered Accountants Ireland delivers the education directly to the students rather than outsourcing. We have a very strong record in terms of student success. We have the highest pass rates amongst the accountancy qualifications. And we've recently introduced our new adaptive learning technology as part of the learning program. So what that's doing, it's allowing for the learning experience to be much more personalized and tailored for each individual student. And you really don't get that anywhere else. It's a real game changer in terms of professional education. The qualification itself obviously gives students a great deal of flexibility in terms of where their career can go. You can work in practice, in industry, financial services, public sector, as Simon was saying, and you can move between the different sectors very easily as your career develops. So really, when it comes to where chartered accountants can go, what they can do, the real difference lies in the fact that they have this ability to work in any area and use those skills that they've developed and apply it to any type of role in any kind of sector.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Simon, from an employer perspective, what support does BDO have in place for people who are pursuing the chartered qualification?
Yeah, look, there's a ton of supports there. Look, the professional qualifications are demanding. There's no denying that. So our role is to remove, I suppose, as many barriers as possible. So we cover things like the cost of tuition, registration, exam fees, provide generous paid study leave, and we actually run additional kind of internal revision courses as well. I suppose just as importantly, we've very supportive culture in here in BDO. Our trainees work closely with managers and mentors and colleagues who've recently completed the same exam, so they understand the challenges involved. Ultimately, I suppose we invest in our people because we know that if our trainees succeed, the firm succeeds.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Robert, I might come to you. I suppose something that always comes up both when we're talking to students and our own graduates come into us is they want to know, with the developments in AI and other emerging technologies, they're changing the workplace. So how is the Institute evolving to ensure the students develop the right skills and they'll be ready for the future of work?
Yeah, and it's a really important question, and I get asked that question actually all the time. And as we all know, there's not a single day that goes by where we don't hear something about AI. And technology, technology and AI in general is pretty much changing the way finance professionals work, and it's changing very, very quickly. But it's also an area that we've been thinking about for some time. We've actually been teaching about emerging technologies and AI as part of our FAE level since 2018. So it's not something that we've just kind of started responding to because of that AI explosion. We recognized very early on that technology would change the role of the finance professional, and that students would need to understand not only how to use emerging technologies like AI, but also including things like automation, blockchain, bots, but also how to, I suppose, evaluate the information that is produced. So that's the important piece. I mean, technology itself is great, but finance professionals still need the judgment to interpret that information and understand the risk, challenge assumptions that are made, and fundamentally make sound business decisions. So those are the real skills. I suppose the AI and the technology is just a way of getting there, and those skills are becoming more and more important now. So our focus is really on ensuring that the students develop the technical digital capabilities kind of for the modern workplace, alongside with the professional judgment, the critical thinking as well, and the ethical awareness of what they're doing. And technology can't really replace that. So it's making sure that when the students qualify, they're not just prepared for the workplace as it exists today, but also have the ability to, I suppose, continue adapting their own role, continue changing how they view things as technology changes and as the role of the finance professional changes as well.
Okay, great. And Simon, just from a business BDO perspective, is there anything you want to add in there on that?
No, look, I suppose I'd probably reiterate a lot of all those points made. I suppose from an employer's perspective, look, AI, as we know, is constantly ever evolving and changing how we work. But as Robert mentioned there, it's not replacing the need for accountants and auditors. In fact, it's probably just shifting the focus towards those higher value skills that were mentioned. Tasks that previously took our teams hours to complete can now be automated, but that allows people to probably spend more time analyzing information, exercising professional judgment, and actually engaging with the clients. I suppose as a result, the skills that we value most are probably evolving as well. The technical expertise remains important, but that kind of critical thinking, problem solving, communication, professional skepticism, they're all becoming even more important. I suppose I love the AI and the AI evolution, and seeing how it's changing how we operate day to day. And I suppose what excites me is that the trainees that are joining today will enter a profession that looks quite different to the one I joined nearly 20 years ago. So those that embrace that kind of technology and continue learning throughout their career, I think will have huge opportunities.
Okay, great. And look, you've mentioned some of the key skills there. And if we were to focus back on audit, I mean, as you said yourself, you've been in BDO 20 odd years, you trained with BDO, you're now a partner in BDO. So you have a really good sense of this. So can you talk to us a little bit about what skills employers are looking for in graduates and students who are coming into us?
Yeah. And it's a really good question, actually, because typically in our interviews, when we ask the candidates, have they any questions for us, this is typically a kind of question that they want to know. They're really trying to get under the hood and trying to understand what kind of skills that we are looking out for. So, first of all, I'd say probably a willingness to learn. Audit is a profession where it's constantly developing new skills and knowledge, and whether that's understanding a new industry, a change in accounting standards, or a new technology, you need to be willing to learn, right? So I think that's probably one of the main things. Secondly, as I mentioned a minute ago, strong communication skills. People often think audit is about numbers, but a huge part of the role is working with clients and colleagues, asking questions, really understanding how businesses operate, and explaining probably complex issues in a clear way. So communication skills would be really, really high up there in terms of those skills that we'd be looking out for. As I mentioned as well, we're obviously an analytical kind of problem solving mindset. So auditors are naturally curious, and it's something that if something doesn't look right, we need the kind of people that are willing to really look into it, investigate it, and get the reasons behind it. So I think some of us are naturally like that, and some of us learn that skill kind of over time. Another important skill is attention to detail. Our clients obviously rely on the work that we do, so the accuracy and the quality of that work is really critical. And finally, I'd say probably teamwork and relationship building, which touches on the communication and side of things as well. But look, audit is very much a team sport, and throughout your career, you work really closely with colleagues at all different levels, and with clients from a wide range of different backgrounds. As I mentioned, my own experience over the years, and being able to build those strong relationships is incredibly important. If I look back over my, as I say, nearly 20 years, the people who tend to do well are those people that are curious, they're proactive, they're willing to ask the questions and are open to new challenges. So they're kind of the qualities that can be developed over time, which is probably why we focus less on what on day one, and more on the potential to grow and learn. We don't expect people coming straight in from college to have all those skills at the outset. They're definitely ones that you develop over time.
Okay, thank you. And I suppose now that we have a good sense of all the skills required, what are the opportunities available then for graduates in the audit area?
Yeah. Well, look, we've quite a large audit department here now in the Dublin office and down in our Limerick office. And for grads joining BDO, typically the first step is our trainee program. Where you combine, as Robert mentioned, that practical work experience and studying towards your ACA qualifications. From literally day one, you'll be part of a client-facing team and contributing to real audit engagements. You're not sitting on the sidelines observing, you're building practical experience from the very start of your career. And look, one of the biggest advantages of starting your career in audit is the exposure that you get. In your first few years, you'll be working with a variety of different clients in various industries, and that gives you a unique insight into how business operate and helps develop both your technical and your commercial skills really quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, as you progress, then opportunities open up in a number of different directions. Many people, like I said, build long and successful careers in practice, and moving from trainee to assistant manager, manager, director, and potentially partner, as I did. But then others, the experience and qualifications they gain in audit to move into industry roles. And myself and Robert have mentioned a few there, but like the list is endless. You have finance managers, financial controllers, CFOs, internal audit, risk management, broad business leadership positions. So I suppose that's what's particularly valuable about an ACA qualification and the audit experience, is that I suppose they're recognised here as a valuable experience, but it's also recognised internationally, so they can create opportunities not just here in Ireland but everywhere around the world. What I'd say to grads is that audit gives you an incredibly strong foundation. It develops your technical knowledge, your business understanding, your communication skills, and your professional confidence. So even if you're not entirely sure what you want to do in your career, where you'll end up, it's an excellent place to start. I often joke that I still don't know what I want to do, because I feel like I'm always learning, always evolving, and I've never really settled. But my role keeps it interesting in from a number of different scenarios.
Okay, great. And I suppose, Robert, looking back at the actual chartered qualification, what advice would you give to students who are considering chartered but are a little bit unsure about what career path they want to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to say is that you don't need to have your entire career mapped out from day one. And I suppose one of the real advantages of the chartered qualification is the breadth of the career opportunities that it can lead to. So you could begin your career in practice, but then end up working in industry in a completely different area. I always say you could take two chartered accountants who qualified in the same year and see what they're doing in 5 years' time, and they're probably doing completely different roles in completely different areas. So those skills that you develop are very transferable. So you're not necessarily committing yourself to doing one specific job for the rest of your career. And to Simon's point, it's always evolving, it's always changing, and you're always able to move into different areas. So, I mean, I suppose ultimately my advice would be for, if anyone is looking to kind of start this or start this pathway, would be to focus on finding an environment where you can learn, where you can develop, where you can gain good experience, but also where you'll enjoy it. Because everybody knows that the more you enjoy something, the more successful you're going to be at it. So if you can combine all those things together, then you're in a really good position, and then you can build on that foundation then, and then you can kind of spread out. But you don't have to know exactly where you're going to go before you start. You're certainly not going to be pigeonholed into doing just one job for the rest of your life. Quite the opposite, actually. And like Simon said, you may not know. 10, 15 years later, you might be thinking, what am I going to do next? But that's the great thing about it, is that you have that opportunity, that flexibility to kind of shape your career to look like, to look like something that you want to do. So yeah, I think it's a really great time to do it as well. There's really great demand for trainee chartered accountants. It's, even though the AI story, I suppose, has been painted quite negatively in some quarters, like Simon was saying, it's actually a very exciting time to get involved with it, because it's just starting. It's like when the dot-com bubble started, if people old enough might remember that. It's the same kind of thing, that we don't know what direction it's going to go. So it's great to get in on the ground level with all of this kind of stuff and see where it goes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I suppose, Simon, finally, how can students apply for the graduate role in BDO?
Yeah. Firstly, I'd say don't be afraid to apply, even if you're, like we were saying there, if you're not completely certain what area of the business you want to work in long term. Audit provides, as I mentioned, a really excellent foundation and opens up opportunities in many different directions. I'm obviously a little biased. I've joined BDO as a trainee almost 20 years ago, but looking back, it gave me huge opportunities, and I couldn't have imagined it when I first walked through the door. I've worked with fantastic clients, developed really, really good relationships, and built a career that I, like Robert said, I genuinely enjoy, which is obviously very helpful. So look, if people are interested in following a similar route, I suppose the first thing to do is to say visit the BDO careers page, learn a little bit more about our grad program, and submit an application. Applications are open, I think, towards the end of next month. I think the 25th of August is when it's opening up and going live. So yeah, look, we're always looking for talented, ambitious people that are eager to learn and develop their careers.
Great, thank you. So we've come to the end of our webinar. Gentlemen, you obviously did a great job of explaining everything, because we have absolutely no questions in, but we'll give it just a minute as I'm wrapping up. If anybody has a question, please do pop it into the Q&A there, and we'll address this to Simon or Robert. But I suppose just to say to all of you, thank you so much. First of all, Simon and Robert, thank you very much for taking the time to join me today. But also thank you to all of you who have joined today. I hope that this has given you the right information and has been insightful if you're considering a career in audit or the chartered qualification. As Simon said there, we're opening our grad applications towards the end of August. Watch out in our social media channels for that, and you'll see all the information coming out in August. Also, we've one more webinar to go where we'll be exploring a career in tax, and we'll be talking to somebody from the Irish Tax Institute. So that's happening towards the beginning of August as well. So again, watch out on our social media channels for that. If anybody finds they have any questions after this, please feel free to drop us an email to info@bdo.ie, and we can send them on to Simon or Robert or the appropriate person to answer. Now, we have a couple of questions coming in now. People are not so shy anymore. Is there any entry requirements, first of all, is the question. So maybe, Simon, you might take that.
Yeah, I always get confused by this, because I always meet everyone at all the grad campaigns and all the information days, and they're always asking me, will I get in with this qualification or will I not get in with this? Typically it's a 2-1 requirement in an undergrad is kind of the starting point, and thereafter, as I say, depending on the course involved, obviously a business or accounting is preferable, but there's nothing to say that other college courses wouldn't be applicable.
And then we have another question, which again is probably for you, Simon. What are the expected start dates for the grad applications that are opening in August?
So they would typically start, so if somebody's applying this August, they'll be starting kind of just over a year later. So they're typically going into their final year of college. Then they typically finish college, enjoy the summer break, and then they'd join us kind of around about November time is typically when they join.
Okay, great, thank you. We have another one in, again, for you, Simon. How easy is it to move from one area in BDO to another? So, for example, if you start off on audit, could you move to tax?
Yeah, audit to tax, we don't see a huge amount of people doing it. It does happen, but typically people would usually join tax if that's where they have an interest, or join audit if that's where they want to go. But that's not to say it doesn't happen. And we do see people moving around. We've obviously various different departments around the firm, and any sort of I suppose advisory roles, and be that a lot of people go into kind of corporate finance, some people go into corporate recovery. Like as you said throughout this, the list is endless as to what you can do. So if you stay in practice and you're advising clients, you can really go anywhere within the firm. Or the alternative route is out into industry. But yes, there are multiple options as to where you might end up after audit. Okay, thank you. And then another one, are there internship opportunities within BDO? There are indeed. Yeah, there's various different types. So there's everything from 4th-year work experience to summer internships and year-long internships. So again, I'd advise you keep an eye on our website and on our socials as to when they become available. Great. We've another one. Robert, you might jump in on this one. How difficult is the ACA qualification while working full-time? And how many exams do ACA students typically complete each year?
It's hard to say, kind of relatively speaking, how difficult they are. I mean, I suppose they're certainly challenging exams, but what we have ensured that what we're doing through the development of our learning platform is to make sure that we're giving the students the best experience. It's very much an integrated program, so it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full-time. So it's very much an integrated program. So it's designed to allow you to study part-time, and then work full and work full time, because the focus is really on combining those two things together. So there are a lot of there is a lot of flexibility and a lot of options there in terms of how many subjects a student can do. This year we have, for the first time, we're launching 3 exam times. So we now will have an autumn exam, a winter exam, and a summer exam. So there's new modular options for students where you can do 2 subjects over 8 weeks, and you do an exam at the end of that. So you could do your exams potentially 3 times a year, or you could do them kind of in the traditional way, which would be to study over an academic year, and then you would do your exams at the end of the year. You wouldn't be looking at doing any more than 4 exams in 1 year, is kind of the typical amount that would be done, because you have to finish one block before you can move on to the next. So there are a number of different ways of doing it now. A couple of different new entry points have been created.
Yeah, and I suppose if I were to add to that myself from a learning and development point of view, and that we interact with the students a lot, obviously this may be your first time ever working full-time and trying to study part-time. You may have studied full-time and worked part-time, which I think is slightly different. So our advice to students is always, you start from day one. Sometimes people can think, oh, I have a load of study leave before the exam, I'll wait till then. That's too late. You go to your lectures, you don't leave them to watch all the recordings of the lectures to the end. You start from day one, attend the lectures live where possible, start the study, and you will find that will benefit you most. And that's what we see. Those that think, oh, I have 6 weeks off before the exam, I'll wait till then. It doesn't work. There's too much pressure on. So, we also run those study skill seminars for our students. We run support seminars for our students. And that's the advice that we would always give. If you start it right, it shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah. Great, thank you. Regarding the ACA qualification, are there exemptions for those who are qualified in other professional accounting qualifications and or have work experience in finance?
Yes, there are exemptions available. So we do, when it comes to exemptions, we treat them all on a case-by-case basis, is how the applications work. So what you just need to do is send us the details of the exams that you've completed, or whatever the qualification is that you've completed, and we can award the exemptions then. Just as a kind of a benchmark, if you were like fully ACCA qualified, for example, then you would potentially just have to do the final 2 exams. But again, we just need to do and make an assessment based on what you've done before. Exemptions aren't granted for work experience, but it can, if any kind of prior work experience can reduce the amount of training that you have to do, the training time, if you're going into the chartered program with BDO, for example. So yeah, you wouldn't just be starting at the very beginning like everybody else. There will be opportunities to kind of move ahead to a further point when you start.
Okay, great, thank you. And we'll just take a couple more. And Simon, this is probably for you, somebody who's been doing their homework over the last couple of weeks. How does the BDO UK and Ireland merger affect employees? Are there more opportunities for projects for Irish employees to take part of, which are UK based?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Obviously, it's very new at the moment, but the one thing I'd say is that it's going to allow a huge amount of growth. Our plans for the future are only bigger and better. So if nothing else, it'll definitely allow for more opportunities for more trainees, more grads, and more staff across the board. It'll I suppose open windows, and we already work really closely with our UK colleagues on a number of engagements, and we have a really, really good relationship with them. But I think this will only strengthen us as we move forward.
Okay, great. We have another couple of questions in there that are very recruitment related. We have people saying that they graduated a year ago. Are they eligible for the graduate program? Somebody else who did a year-long internship in college, would they get exemptions for the work experience? And what makes applications stand out during the recruitment process, and other people who are looking for internships and work experience? Simon, overall, would you like to comment? But I think maybe we might refer them onto our recruitment team and get back to those people with the answers if that works.
Yeah, I think so. I think they sound like quite specific examples. I suppose from the one of what makes somebody stand out. I think as long as they meet the minimum requirements, and their application form is well thought out, it really comes down to the person then. And I mentioned some of those skills that we're always looking for. So look, we're a while off the actual interview process, but when they get to that stage, I think think about those skills that I mentioned. Think about the communication, relationships, problem solving. They're the things that, as we're talking to somebody, that'll really help them stand out from others.
Great. And there is another one there just for Robert in relation to a question relating to FAE. Again, what I'd say is we'll get that to Robert because it's quite a specific question and he'll come back to you. A couple of you guys, you'll know yourself, as I've alluded to those questions there, have sent them in as anonymous participants, and therefore we won't be able to see and maybe answer directly to you. But what I would suggest is if you have any of those questions around recruitment, exemptions, that type of thing, maybe drop us a note into info@bdo.ie and we'll be able to get the right person to get back to you to answer those questions. Okay, so we're just on time now. I think we'll get this to a close. Again, thank you very much for everybody attending, and I hope that you found this useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivia.
Thank you.